again, if that speech, that he gave today served as a reminder of 2015. He pretty much said exact same things what he said in 2015. But I think the thing that stuck with me, he called President Xi Jinping as king, and I think that was pretty, taking a big dig at the Chinese premier.
Right, absolutely. And that was something that I wanted to ask you as well. He announces this bid right as the G20 meets in Bali. And the visuals that came out of there weren't really spectacular for Mr. Biden because, he almost rushed to meet him. And in that sense, Trump, of course, wanting once again to put himself as the defender of America against the Chinese. And that's something, that will resonate with a lot of Americans. Do you think that is something that will work for him?
Well, his bravado and his machismo that he's known for, it was a full display today when he called out. Again, I think one takeaway I would say from G20 was Joe Biden agreeing to work with China. And again, Donald Trump coming out and saying, you can't, and there are different ways he wants to deal with China. So yes, there would be some understanding of Trump thoughts. I mean, some understanding within the Beltway as to where Trump is heading with this. But again, we've seen in the past. I actually have to go back to two statements. One made by Donald Trump when he said, he understands Xi Jinping like nobody else, and President Biden saying the exact same thing, that he's met Xi Jinping since 2011, and he understands Xi Jinping better than nobody else. So I think both of them are trying to appeal to the same audience. But again, when it probably would come down to voting, I don't think people are going to pay too much attention to this. Again, Americans vote for most largely for domestic issues, as we've seen in the midterms. So I think for President Biden, the biggest scare would be if the economy does not turn around in 2024. That would be his biggest scare.
Right, and he did mention that. He said that great countries are actually great countries that follow great economics. But I wanted to bring you back to the other part of it. How difficult is it going to be for him to win support from the Republicans? Because there is already indication that perhaps that support may be waning. There are younger people, for instance, of course, the Florida governor who's being talked about already. So do you perhaps think that support from the Republicans this time round may not be as forthcoming as the last time round?
Well, the people I have spoken to, Nupur, and some of his voters that voted for him in 2016 and 2020, they also seem to think that he's too old. They want somebody young. They want somebody who can use the Trump policies, the MAGA platform, but somebody who's not that extreme. So you're right in saying that he probably has to go back and win those votes back. It's not going to be easy. 1 week is too long in politics. It's 2 years from now. He has to go back. He has to do his rallies. He will take on in a crowded field. There's going to be Mike Pence, Ron DeSantis, the Florida governor, probably Mike Pompeo. So there's going to be a very crowded field. And he probably has to come out, and we'll probably see what tactics he uses this time. So he has to win over those voters. He has to get that nomination. And you're right, it's not going to be easy. But again, I say this with caution, before. He is Trump. He's defied everything, all the policy books, everything. So it'll be interesting to see what he does now. When the start of the interview, as I said, nobody had ever announced candidacy for the White House 2 years into it. So it's just interesting as to see what Donald Trump does next. One big aspect of that is what happens here from now on in the next 2 years in terms of what Republicans do to Biden's legislative agenda. Do they stick to what Donald Trump laid out today? Do they go and work with the old Washington compromise with Joe Biden to deliver him some victories? We'll have to wait and watch. But it is going to be a little uphill battle for President Donald Trump to come out and say, hey, give me this nomination. I'm going to beat Joe Biden in 2024.
Right. Mr. Sharma, one last question before I hand it over back to Nivedana. I wanted to ask you, how much of a difference do you think the resurrection will make? Now, because Trump's presidency, one of, something that stayed with people across the world are the images that came out the day of the Capitol riots. Now, how much do you think that's going to weigh on the voters' mind? Because that, in a sense, was seen to be a challenge to democracy. Now, we do know that there are proceedings that are still on against us. What's your take on it? How much do you think that will impact his presidential candidature?
It will, Nupur, but it is hard to say. The fact is that there was this, and I don't want to, well, let me put it this way. There were people who thought that Donald Trump was done on Jan 6th. He's not going to come out and come out and ask for votes or be active in politics. He's going to get impeached and be done. But the fact that he's still fighting it through, the fact that he's still trying to have his base rally behind him. I mean, the amount of money his super PAC has been able to raise, it's humongous. So it probably would play in the minds of some independents, maybe some Democrats who would not vote for Donald Trump. But I think his base that he was able to rile up on January 6th, to them, I think they still see him as a victim. They still believe that the 2020 election was stolen for Donald Trump, and they're wanting to give him another chance in 2024.
Right.
All right.
Rohit, this is Nivedna here. I'm asking you another question about the fact that now he has filed for the election. Thank you, Nupur, for joining us and getting us the latest inputs on that as well. My question to you, Mr. Sharma, would be the fact that his in his speech he was talking about immigration and the southern border wall as well, evoking the usual rhetoric, maligning migrants as rough people. But on the other hand, he's also gone on to state that he followed it up, in fact, with we will defeat the radical left Democrats that are trying to destroy our country from within. Now, earlier, of course, he's come up with terms like the China virus and the Islamic terrorism, but this time around in the speech, he's talking about unifying the country. How do you view that?
Well, you know what? It is interesting, right? Is it not? Because in 2015, he said murderers and rapists from southern borders. So he's probably trying to get, cater towards the Hispanic votes. He's trying to make sure that Hispanic votes could probably, fall for his presidency and for the Republican Party. But again, as long as Stephen Miller, who is his advisor and who probably, sort of devised a lot of those harsh immigration policies under Donald Trump, as long as he's around, I think it'll be very difficult for Donald Trump to give a message of unifying or building something or, trying to end the polarization that exists. As a matter of fact, probably you say this, his Stephen Miller, who is his advisor, sent out leaflets to a lot of people saying that people should only vote for white people in the midterms. So it is, it's not going to be forgotten. And as far as Donald Trump is concerned, he, as I said, he has an uphill task. And Jeb Bush, I just saw a tweet from him. He said this was a very low energy performance. So knives are definitely out for Donald Trump.
Right. Also with the fact that he had spoken earlier about making that Hindu Holocaust. So in a sense, the influence of the Indian diaspora as well is what Trump will be looking at, the influence of the same.
In the swing states, yes. I think we've had some studies that have been able to indicate that there are a few counties and few districts within America in swing states. There is a lot of Indian Americans that do vote, and that could possibly swing the election or the state towards one party or the other. In terms of Hindu Holocaust, I mean, that was an idea proposed by one of the organizations in the U.S. that has been closely associated with President Trump. Election promises, politicians are same everywhere, I would say, Nivedita. So we'll have to wait and watch what happens. But the fact that he's actually able to give that voice, to Indian Americans and to Hindus, I think that definitely would be taken in the very positive context by a lot of people in America.
All right. We thank you, Mr. Rohit Sharma, for joining us on Republic TV and giving us your viewpoints of the fact that, of course, Donald Trump has gone ahead and filed for the 2024 presidential elections. We'll continue to track that particular story and get more latest inputs on that as well on Republic TV. But moving on to other news that we're tracking at this hour. Prime Minister Modi has bilateral talks scheduled with leaders of 8 countries as a part of the G20 summit in Bali, with speculations of a meet with China's President Xi Jinping not confirmed as of now. Days after the blast of the railway bridge near Udaipur, at least 186 kgs of gelatin sticks has been recovered in the water under the water near the Babrana bridge in Dugarpur in Rajasthan. Now, the police are investigating the matter as a connection to the Udaipur blast is yet to surface. Now, Gujarat Chief Minister and BJP leader Bhupendra Bhai Patel is expected to file his nomination for the upcoming Gujarat Assembly elections with Union Home Minister Amit Shah to be present at the filing. Amit Shah had earlier stated that Bhupendra Patel would continue to be Chief Minister if the BJP wins in Gujarat. Rouse Avenue Court at New Delhi is expected to pass an order on the bail plea filed for Delhi Minister Satyendra Jain in connection with the money laundering case being pursued against him by the ED. At least 4 terror associates linked to the TRF have been arrested by the Srinagar police. The associates are said to have been involved in grenade attacks in Srinagar and are suspected to have provided support to terrorists of the TRF in the valley. A person at a rally of the BRS received severe burns at Sangareddy in Telangana. Now, the incident took place when firecrackers bursted as a part of celebrations landed in an auto full of firecrackers, with the person receiving 60% burn injuries as a result. Large crowds at the Danrao Dham in Madhya Pradesh is believed to have been one of the factors that led to the death of a woman and several being injured at the temple. Cadres of the Congress from Chennai and Nellai engaged in a scuffle at the Congress party headquarters at Royapeta in Chennai. At least 3 members of the Nellai Congress were injured as at least 60 police personnel were deployed to allay the situation. An incident of a minor being tied to a tree and assaulted has resurfaced from Sikar in Rajasthan after 4 months. The mother of the victim alleges that justice remains to be served in connection with the case as a renewed investigation has been initiated in the matter. CBI court extends the judicial custody of former Maharashtra Minister Anil Deshmukh for 14 days in the corruption case. And moving on to more breaking news that's coming in. Mega crackdown of the ACB on AAP MLA aides. Now, the AAP MLA is under the radar. Now, we're understanding that the complainant has alleged that money is being taken for allocation of the MCD tickets. Now, remember that the MCD elections are around the corner. So, the mega ACB crackdown in the national capital with the fact that the close aides of AAP MLA are under the ACB scanner. Now, we're trying to get more details on this front, but what we're understanding so far is that the complainant has stated that Akhilesh Tripathi demanded a bribe of rupees 90 lakhs. Now, this is in connection with the fact that for accepting a bribe for giving an AAP ticket of MCD election to Ms. Shobha Khari, wife of the complainant of Gopal Khari for ward number 69 Kamla Nagar